Mate, don't worry.
Thank you.
Part of the problem is turnout. The turnout's gone down, and we don't have those numbers of people voting that we used to. I mean, that's why that is. We
Still
know
be the
that's
proportion,
a problem.
though, for Labour.
Well, it's still proportionally very high. I mean, we sit in the opinion polls 40% plus, which is where we historically sit in Wales. We did well in the Assembly elections in 2012. We expect to actually increase, 2011 rather, we expect to increase the seats that we have in Wales this election.
If it wasn't so desperately serious, some might argue that the performance of the NHS in Wales would be seen as a joke. It's not a joke because people's lives are at stake. David Cameron regularly refers to it. How do you respond?
Well, it's not for me to respond. I listened to your Vox Pops earlier on when 3 people were interviewed. I think it was 3-0 to the Welsh Government because, I mean, the first person who came on said, well, I'm from England, I've now moved to Wales, and it's better here in Wales. If the NHS was as bad, look, I mean, let's face it, nothing can be perfect at the end of the day, but nothing can be perfect in England either. We saw what happened in England just before Christmas. It works well for most people most of the time. When it doesn't work well, you've got to find out why, and you've got to address that. Let's not be complacent about it, and we're not in that position. But to say, Offa's Dyke is the line between life and death was absolute nonsense. If that was really true, we'd be in for a hammering at this election. We're not. We're going to increase the number of seats that we have. And don't listen to me, listen to the people you interviewed earlier on.
But how, if the Labour nationally have made the stewardship of the NHS a key issue, how embarrassing is it that there have been, you will allow, First Minister, issues with the NHS in Wales?
Well, I mean, we knew we were in line for a kicking from the Conservatives on this. They've turned the Welsh NHS into a political football. But, what gets me is you have Jeremy Hunt, when he was under pressure, saying the NHS shouldn't be a political football, but then doing exactly the same thing with Wales. He's like those kids you see in the school playground who come up behind you, belt you from behind, then run away. Now, you can't have it both ways. Yes, there have been issues with the Welsh NHS. I'm not going to say that they haven't been, and they are being addressed. That much is true. But if you look at our figures, health and social care, we spend more per head than in England. Our cancer figures are better. We roll out cancer drugs more quickly.
More is spent down here per head, of course.
5% more per head,
yes,
roughly, on health and social care.
So it should be better.
But this is despite the fact that our own budget's been cut by 10%. So we've managed to hold that spending up and steady and more, despite the fact we've had a hammering financially.
Nick Clegg would say, and I'm paraphrasing brutally here, the problem with you is that it's all take, and no show. What have you actually done with all the money, Nick Clegg might say? How have you grown Wales?
Well, hang on a second. I mean, first of all, it's not all money that comes from London. We pay taxes as well in Wales. Let's point that out. Okay, let's look at the economy. We have.
But he says you're always wanting more money for the NHS. He says, how has he spent the money?
If I'm asking for more money for the NHS, I'm not going to apologise about that. That much I can tell you. If you look at the economy, best foreign direct investment figures for the past 30 years. That's through work we've done as a government, not because it's something the UK government has done. We've still got problems with 0 hours contracts, still got problems with the living wage in the private sector. We need a UK government to address those as well. If you look at education, we're building more, schools in Wales, new schools, not happening in England. Our GCSE results are improving at a rate of knots. We expect to do better than England. It's not a competition, I know that, but better than England this year. Things are moving along well, despite the fact we've been hammered financially by the coalition government.
Lastly, First Minister, the Leaders' Special, whatever you want to call it, last night, as the main challenger, the insurgent, Mr. Miliband surely should have won, and he didn't.
I think he did, but then I would say that, wouldn't I? Of course, right?
Get away.
I think at the end of the day, it was a tough old audience, and I think
for all of them.
Yeah, for all of them. No, you can't say that it was easy for one more than the other two. I thought Ed came through very, very well. I think people have been pleasantly surprised by his performances. I think he's been admired, and I think what's come through more than anything is he actually has a good bit of steel inside him, and that's come over.
I agree, and he probably was the most confident in his step until that unfortunate stumble, but it's the economy. They won't, it would appear, many voters will not forgive Labour and Ed Balls over the economy, will they?
The problem is this. Look, people out there think that it was our fault that the economy went as it did in 2008, 2009.
Well, you contributed
right?
towards it.
Well, let's face it, it happened across the world. Every government had to face the same problem. It wasn't as if it was unique to Britain. Let's remember, at the time, 2007, 2008, David Cameron was saying, let the banks fail and let's cut public spending. In 2010, we were back on track. We've now had 5 years of nothing.
Growth.
A tiny bit, but we're only back to where we were in 2010.
More than the rest of Europe.
But we're only back to where we were in 2010. And that's the problem. If you look at job creation, yeah, unemployment's come down, concede that, and it's happened in Wales. But what kind of jobs have been created? What sort of country are we when at one time we could say to people, if you get a job, your living standard will improve? Now, we're saying to people, yeah, you can get a job, but you still might need to rely on a food bank. That's what Britain's become. We can't go on like that.
First Minister, a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much for coming on board the bus. Carwyn Jones is the First Minister of Wales. 4 minutes before 9. More of your reaction concerning who won that Leaders' Special to come.